Well, welcome everyone to this latest episode of Stories for Healing. This program has been going on since the end of October. We're still running strong with a new story every weekday. And it's obviously been something that we all need right now. There's enough pain and division and stress in this world. Um, what we really need to do is to remind ourselves of what it is to be healed and reconciled and how to grow. And what better way to do that than with stories? Um, Today, I'm very pleased to say we have a storyteller joining us from India, Poonam Joshy. So, Poonam, would you please tell us a story?
Thank you, Jim. It is indeed an honor to be here today telling a story. This is a beautiful space that you have created. And for me, every day I listen to at least one story. So without, delaying any further, I jump into the story. The story that I get for you today is an old ancient story. Here it goes. Many, many years ago, at the court of King Pasenadi of Kosala, there was a learned Brahmin by the name Bhagava Gaga. He was the spiritual guru to the king, and thus he enjoyed a very high position. One day, his wife gave birth to a child, a baby boy, and at the same moment, there happened a disquieting event. All weapons and the armory in the city suddenly began to shine and sparkle, sending down shivers to all those who witnessed the sight. Some were scared, some were amused because never had they ever seen a spectacle like this. The Brahmin knew that this was a signal from the heavens above of something that he had to find out. He soon cast the boy's horoscope and found that the boy was born under the robber's constellation of the planets. That indicated that the boy would have criminal tendencies. The father was devastated on seeing this. But he had confidence in his dharma, in his parenting. He thought he could keep his child away from this violence. And so the first thing that he did, he named him Ahimsika. Ahimsika, which means the harmless, the one who follows the path of non-violence. As Ahimsa is a religion, a philosophy that believes that all living things and animals are sacred. Ahimsika grew up to be an extremely obedient, humble boy. He was very intelligent, very studious, and hardworking, and a strong man of good build. At the age of 16, Ahimsaka was sent to Takshila, that ancient university which was known for the teachings of Vedas and the 18 arts, the arts which included skills of archery, hunting, elephant lore, in addition with the School of Law and also the School of Medicine. He was accepted by the senior most teacher as his student because Ahimsaka was a very great scholar. He was good with his studies and a humble person. Soon, he became the favorite of his teacher. And he also served his teacher, his master, his guru with good speech and conduct that soon all the other children of the academy started detesting him and they were all jealous of him. Since the young Ahimsaka has come, the gurus have just forgotten us. We need to do something, they said. They all ganged up together and they started poisoning the ears of his guru. They started telling stories which were not true. Finally, the poisonous seed of suspicion took root in the heart of the teacher. And he believed that Ahimsaka, so strong of body and so intelligent, was trying to throw him off his seat and take his place. And when once you have suspicion, then everything appears to be as told. And the suspicion soon changed into conviction. And the teacher thought, I must find a and also to get rid of him. Ahimsaka soon completed his studies, and it was time for him to go back home to his parents. The Guru called him and said, my dear Ahimsaka, for one who has completed his studies, it is your duty to give a gift of honor to your teacher, which is the Guru Dakshina. Certainly, my Lord, certainly, my Guru. You ask for it. Your wish is my command. Whatever you ask, I shall give you. You tell me, what do you want? So it was the time for the Guru to take revenge. He said, yes, I will tell you. I want a garland. No ordinary garland, my son. You must bring me 1,000 human little fingers stringed into a garland. This will be your concluding ceremonial homage to the science that you have learned through me. The teacher probably thought that Ahimsaka, in his attempt to complete this deed, would kill himself, for he knew he was a tender boy and who could not kill anything. Or even if he didn't kill himself, the king's soldiers would catch him and he would suffer the highest penalty of execution. Faced with such an outrageous demand, Ahimsaka exclaimed, oh master, how can I do that? I belong to a family that never engages in violence. They are harmless people, oh Lord. Oh Guru, ask me for anything but this. Well, if the science does not receive its dues and the ceremonial homage, it will not yield you any fruit, my child. It will not yield you any fruit. Now Ahimsaka consented. And after worshipping his Guru, he left. He left with a heavy heart. He could not go back home, for he had to fulfill the promise he had made to his Guru. He took his weapons, a quiver, a bow, and an arrow, and also a sword. And he went straight to the thick, dense jungles of Jalini. There, he lived on a high cliff from where he could observe the road down below. Initially, he could not kill people because he had never done that before. He was scared, he was lonely, he lived in the jungles. But soon, his emotions hardened and he started killing people day after day. He chopped their fingers, the little finger of the right hand, and he threaded them and put them around his neck like a garland. He kept counting the fingers each day, 1, 2, 3, and it kept increasing the number. By now he had become hardened. He didn't feel anything. The people of the village were now scared. Everywhere people knew that up in the jungle there lived a ferocious man who was ready to kill anybody and everybody. Even the woodpeckers, they did not come that way. They did not come to pick anything. The root became silent once again. Now, Angulimal was his name. People started calling him Anguli Mala, which means Anguli is the finger and Mala a garland. His stories spread far and wide. He now started going into the villages. He would hide somewhere, and whenever he caught sight of a man, he would just slay him just for one little finger. People were scared. They started leaving their villages. They left their homes and they went to the king. They wept and lamenting. They told the king all the stories of this man. The king sent out his messengers, his soldiers to catch Angulimala, but all in vain. Uncaptured, he kept killing people. Time passed by, and now he was just one finger away from 1,000. He was waiting for his last prey till he saw a monk walking past the village into the forest. He shouted from his place, "Stop! Stop, you monk! Stop there!" The monk kept walking. In a fit of anger, he took his sword and rushed after him, stood right in front of him, looking into his eyes. He said, "Don't you hear me? I say stop." "I've stopped long back. When will you stop, my son?" Hearing this, Angulimala was angry. He said, "What do you mean? I have been telling you to stop and you keep walking. And now that I stand in front of you, not walking, you're asking me to stop?" Laughed the monk. "Angulimala, I stopped doing acts that cause suffering and death to other living beings long, long ago. I now protect all living beings. I know you have suffered deeply at the hands of some human. Sometimes human can be the cruelest of all animals. Such cruelty is born out of hatred, desire, ignorance, and jealousy." Angulimal, enraged at his boldness, was determined to kill him. He lifted his sword, but when he saw the monk calm and composed and self-possessed, and heard his voice of kindness and compassion, something moved in him. For the first time, someone had spoken to him. A greater change occurred when the monk looked into his eyes deep within and smiled. He felt as if the current of his suppressed nobler thoughts and purer self had broken through the dam of hardened cruelty. His arm, uplifted to kill the monk, hung helplessly by his side. And his wrath cooled like the embers of a dying fire, as the monk looked deeply into his eyes and smiled. Angulimala was deeply moved with his kind words. Are you Gautam Buddha?" he asked. "Where were you, my lord? Why didn't I meet you earlier? What a pity. It's too late now." "It is never too late," he said. Begin by dropping this hatred and violence, Angulimala. Come, walk my path. Walk with me." Angulimala dropped his sword and fell to the ground. He wept profusely. He kept weeping. "Save me, save me, save me, oh dear monk. I am tired. I am tired of this bloodshed. Show me the path." Gautam Buddha just picked him up. And then he said, "Come with me." He took him to the monastery. Who once did live in recklessness, and then in recklessness never after. He shall illuminate the world like the full moon unveiled by the clouds. And thus he lived. After that, in the monastery, he became a monk and he was completely transformed. He started living a life of purity, virtue, and noble conduct. In due course, the serial killer, he attained nirvana. Thank you.
Thank you so much. What an epic story. Wow. Wow. And it all does come down to a kind word, doesn't it? That
Exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Words of compassion, words of kindness. In fact, any words. He was all alone in the forest.
yeah,
He had no one to, talk to. So all his emotions had hardened.
yeah, yeah,
And one word of kindness changed him forever.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And isn't that true for us today? We tend to be isolated now in these days, and our views might start to harden because we're only we're so isolated, and yet reaching out and saying a kind word to someone else can make all the difference. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, well, see, folks, that's why we have these stories, why we tell these stories, because they can be long and epic, but they can also turn on a single word. How wonderful that is. Do join us here every weekday. We have stories here either on the Facebook Live page or they're also archived over on the YouTube playlist. So if you've missed one or you want to hear one again, come back and listen to us. Um, and between now and the next episode, whenever that is for you, say a kind word to each other. Who knows what will happen? Thank you.